Hello everybody, we are back for another day of Algebra 1. If you remember from yesterday, we talked about adding and subtracting polynomials. I have one quick review problem on the screen for you right now. If you want to pause the screen and do it and then check your answer, that might be a good idea. I'm going to go through it right now. So, this first problem, we are subtracting. So remember, when you're subtracting, the key is you need to distribute this subtraction sign to everything after the first parenthesis. So in the first parenthesis, the 6x minus 4x squared plus 3, all of that just drops down. 6x minus 4x squared plus 3. In the second set of parentheses, remember, I'm going to erase these 3 marks. I need to do negative 3x squared. Now my negative is distributed here too, so I have a negative times minus 2x. That would turn into a negative times a negative is a plus 2x. My negative also distributes all the way back to the positive 1. So a negative times a positive 1 would give me a minus 1. Now I need to go through and combine my like terms. CLT, combine like terms. Remember, a like term is something with the same variable, so the same letter, of the same degree. So same letter, same exponent. So first up, I have 6x plus 2x. 6x plus 2x is 6x. 6x plus 2x is not 6x. It's definitely 8x. Sorry, I was yelling at my dog. Wonderful. Trying to get my dog off of me when that happened. Okay, 8x. Next up, we have negative 4x squared minus 3x squared. Again, those are like terms because it's the same variable, same letter. The variable is x, the letter is x. Same degree, the exponent is 2. They are both x squareds. So negative 4x squared minus 3x squared. Negative 4 minus 3, we should get negative 7x squared. And last but not least, we have a positive 3 minus 1. 3 minus 1, you should know that is plus 2. Now, putting this in standard form just means, hey, let's put the first or the highest exponent first, the second highest exponent next, so on and so forth. So my highest exponent is x squared, so I'm going to write this as negative 7x squared. Again, the sign goes with it. It was a negative x squared, so that goes along with it. Next up, I have just an x, and that's a positive 8x out front, so I'm going to write it as plus 8x. On the end, it is plus 2. My leading coefficient, if it's in standard form, is just the first number I have. So my first number is negative 7. My degree, again, is the highest exponent. Your highest exponent is right there. So your degree is 2. That should all be a review from yesterday. Okay, so we talked about adding and subtracting polynomials yesterday. Today we are on to multiplying polynomials. Now, to start, we should just have a quick review problem. So good. If you want to pause and work on these two problems, these are simply just distributing problems. So on number 1, you distribute the 3. Number 2, you distribute the 6x squared. If you want to pause, I'll wait about 5 seconds before I start these problems myself. Okay, the first problem. Again, we talked about distributing the 3, so I'm going to do 3 times 6x. That would give me 3 times 6 is 18x. Next up, 3 times 2, 3 times positive 2 would give me plus 6. Boom, just distributing. If you don't have a calculator at home and you don't want to use your phone, you can also just type in like 3 times 2 into Google, and a little calculator will pop up on the screen. That's a good one to use. I've used that quite a bit, actually. Okay, on to number 2. Okay, now this one's different because before I just distributed a number. I distributed 3. Now I'm distributing a number and a letter, 6 and an x squared. So I distribute this 6x squared to 3x squared. Well, 6 times 3, that would give me 18. I also need to distribute my variables, so x squared times x squared. Now remember, this one's kind of goofy because when I do x squared times x squared, I'm supposed to add the exponent. So x squared times x squared would give me x to the 4th. That one's goofy because if you do 2 times 2, you get 4. But if you do 2 plus 2, you also get 4. But remember, we are adding exponents when you multiply. Okay, so when I go to the next one, I have a 6x squared times negative 4x. So 6 times negative 4 should give you a minus 24. Now I have x squared times x. That would give me a total of 3x's, so x to the third. Last but not least, 6x squared times 3. Well, 6 times 3 is plus 18. And then I also have my x squareds. Okay, so I don't have this written down, but my leading coefficient here is 18. My degree is 4. There are 3 terms, so this would be a trinomial. And again, that part that I'm going to put in this yellow box, that's not really necessary. Now, I just wanted to go over that for a quick review from yesterday as well. Okay, so everything up to this point should be a review. We have seen distributing. We've seen distributing a 3. We've seen distributing a number with a variable. Now we're on to the newest portion, and this is something that you will use for the rest of your high school math career. It is not going away anytime soon. So you need to be able to master this concept. And it is a 4-letter word that starts with F. And no, Bryce, it's not that one. This one is foiling. So foiling is a technique. It's essentially double distributing, but the letters stand for something. In FOIL, the F stands for first. The O stands for outside. The O stands for outside. You can probably guess. The I stands for inside. The L stands for last. I will go through what that means in this first example. So in the first example, we have x plus 2 in parentheses times x minus 6 in parentheses. How do you know it's times? Well, there's no sign here. That means it's multiply. Okay, so FOIL. I'm going to try to color code this. FOIL. Okay, so F in FOIL stands for first. So what that means is I'm going to multiply the first term in both sets of parentheses. So I'm going to do x times x, which is x squared. X times x is x squared. Okay, next up, O in FOIL. O stands for outside. I'm going to multiply the 2 terms on the outside. So x is on the outside of this one, and 6 is on the outside of this one. X times negative 6 is minus 6x. So if you look here, I distributed my x to x and x to negative 6. Next up, I have I. I stands for inside. So I want to multiply the 2 terms on the inside. I have a 2 and an x on the inside. Well, 2 times x, they're both positive, is plus 2x. L stands for last. So now I'm going to multiply the last 2 terms on both sides. So my last 2 terms is, L is last. My last terms are 2 and negative 6. What is 2 times negative 6? Negative 12. Now, if you look carefully, I talked about it essentially being double distributing in the beginning. Double distributing, I had to do x times x, boom. I had to do x times negative 6, boom. I had to do 2 times x, boom. I had to do 2 times negative 6, boom. That was supposed to be in black, whoops. So when I do this now, I should end up with 4 terms then. I have 2 times 2 is 4. There's 2 terms here, 2 terms here, and 2 terms here. I should end up with 4 terms, at the very end. Now I just need to combine my like terms. So do I have like terms here? Do I have anything of the same letter, same exponent? Well, in the middle right here, you should see, well, those are both x's to the first power. So I'm going to have x squared. That just drops down. Now in the middle, what's negative 6x plus 2x? That should be negative 4x. Last but not least, my minus 12 drops down. Boom. x squared minus 4x minus 12 is your final answer. Again, I FOILed that out. First, outside, inside, and last. Okay, we have two more examples today. This next one is also a foiling problem. So I'm going to write down, I'll leave FOIL right up here. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so we are going to FOIL this sucker out. The F stands for first. I'm going to multiply my first term by my first term. This one's just a little bit different where it's not just x and x out front. This one is a 3x and a 2x. So just like when I worked on my distributing problems in the beginning, I have to do 3 times 2 is 6. And I also have x times x, which is x squared. There, I did my first terms. I did the F in FOIL. Now I'm on to the O. O stands for outside. So I'm going to multiply my two outside terms. 3x times 3 is minus 9x. Okay, now I need to do my inside terms. The two numbers on the inside of the parentheses are 1 and 2x. So 1 times 2x is plus 2x. Now last, the L in FOIL stands for last. I'm going to multiply my two last terms. 1 times a negative 3 would give me minus 3. Now we need to CLT in the middle, combine like terms. And just like before, my two terms right here in the middle are like terms because they are the same variable. They're both x's. To the same degree, they're both x, just x to the first power. So what is negative 9x plus 2x? In the middle there, you should get a minus 7x. My 6x squared in front drops down. My minus 3 on the back drops down. There is your final answer. And again, I talked about this being essentially double distributing. Get rid of that, get rid of that. I did 3x times this and this. I did 1 times this and this. So what we can actually do is do a binomial, a 2-term, times a trinomial, which is a 3-term. It's the exact same concept. Now you might say, Mr. Adler, I can't FOIL this out because if I do first outside, inside, last, this one has, what about the middle? Well, it's an easy concept. Again, all I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply my 3x to everything in there and my negative 2 to everything in there as well. I'm going to multiply 3x times everything and negative 2 times everything. I'll show you what I mean. And I will try to color code this one as well. So I'm going to start off by 3x times 4x squared. 3 times 4, I should get a 12. X times x squared, again, add the exponents, should get x to the third. Okay, next up, 3x times 3x. Well, they're both positive, so 3 times 3 is plus 9. X times x, I should get an x squared. Okay, last but not least, I have 3x times negative 6. Well, 3 times negative 6 should get negative 18. Again, if you want to use a calculator, you can. That's fine. And then I have an x waiting on the end for it. All right, next up, I'm going to do, that was 3x times everything in the trinomial. The first part of my binomial, 3x, times every term in my trinomial. Now I'm going to do the second part of my binomial, negative 2, times everything in my trinomial. So I'm going to do negative 2 times 4x squared. Well, negative 2 times 4x squared gives me a minus 8x squared. Next up, I have negative 2 times 3x. Negative 2 times positive 3x will give me a negative 6x. Last but not least, we'll use, let's do puke green. Last but not least, we have negative 2 times negative 6. A negative times a negative should give me a positive. 2 times 6 then is 12. Okay, this looks very big and scary, but all we got to do now is CLT, combine like terms. So let's start with our things to the third power. I have a 12x to the third, and that's the only thing to the third power that I have in this big long equation. So this turns into just 12x to the third. Next up, let's do everything to the second power. Here's a positive 9x squared. Here's a minus 8x squared. 9x squared minus 8x squared, well, just gives you a plus 1x squared. But again, if it's 1 like that, like 9 minus 8 is 1, we don't have to write the 1 as a coefficient. We just know it's a x1 in front of the x squared. Okay, up next, we have negative 18x, negative 6x. Again, those are like terms because they're the same variable, x, to the same degree. So now negative 18 minus 6, if you have to use a calculator, that's fine. Or if you just want to double check, negative 18 minus 6 is minus 24x. Now we just have this plus 12 hanging out on the end. That one doesn't have any like terms, so it's just going to be plus 12. There is your final answer. Okay, I will post a short assignment along with this. If you have any questions, you can email